Hello, my friends, and I hope you are having a fantastic day. To start things off, once again, we have another couple puppy pictures. Mom's getting a little better about letting me handle them, but I just figured for tonight we'd do a couple group shots. Here you have everybody all lined up. The firstborn is now up to 11 ounces. Then we've got 10, 8, and 7 all the way down. So that one girl, the firstborn there, is going to be a big one, with the white one being the next biggest. I would not be surprised if that first girl happened to get up to the same size as the boy from 2 litters ago, who I can say is at 18 pounds now for a breed that is supposed to be between 4 and 8. He's a weird one, but he's a good boy. I kept that one. Here's another picture. I had to put the heating pad on for them because it's getting just a little chilly, and if you don't keep them warm, they have a tendency to whine. Puppies don't actually regulate their own body temperature. That's part of why their mother ends up sitting with them so much. It's also why it's better to have a larger group of puppies. They keep themselves warm when they huddle together. But, you know, when things get just a little chilled, you pop a little heating pad under them and it keeps them nice and toasty. And it keeps them quiet too. Because trust me, if they want something, they absolutely let you know. You can see here on, I believe that's number 1's face. You can see the brown developing there on her cheeks, as well as the brown over there on number 2's. I think you might even be able to see a little bit over there on number 4. But that is hard to tell considering she's got her sister's butt in her face. You can also tell where their little pink noses and everything are starting to turn black. So cute. Puppies addressed. We haven't talked about the Veilguard for a while, and figured I might as well go ahead and hit something about it that I've been thinking about lately. And thought about more, as I saw this article where they are getting their first price drop already. Now, it's only a 10% drop, so it's going from $69.99 to $62.99. I would not rush out and buy it if you were waiting for a sale. You're going to need to wait just a little bit longer for it to actually go on a good sale. You will definitely be able to get it for at least $20, but that might take another few months. But the thing I wanted to talk about is the interesting conflict of opinion that the games journalists seem to show. This is, of course, the Polygon article where they feel that DragonAge the Veilguard, which was made to be successful at the Game Awards, was not successful at the Game Awards, only got the one nomination in the accessibility category and got absolutely nothing else. When you look at the game and you see that they're saying this, that tells you an awful lot about what they think it takes to be successful at the Game Awards. It tells you just about everything you need to know about what they think about gaming in general, and the fact that they have absolutely no understanding about what actually makes a good game to most people. They forget that gamers are not the same as the gaming critics, that we are not the Game Awards, that we are not corporations. We are a group of individuals which vary wildly from one end of the spectrum to the other. And if you try to make a game that appeals to all of us, what you're going to get is this watered down piece of crap that has absolutely no interesting anything in it because you're too afraid that you're going to offend somebody in some group, or you don't care about certain groups that you might offend because you feel the need to cater to another group. Thus, you get a game that releases, comes out to high critical acclaim, has an abysmal user score, and can't actually be awarded any awards because, as broken and terrible as the Game Awards are, that would just ruin what very little credibility they have with people altogether. Now, as we discussed yesterday, that doesn't seem to matter to the Game Awards a whole lot, because they have a tendency to just put what they want where they want it. It is, as I said, really just an advertisement, both for the games that are in the awards themselves, getting on that list gets more eyes on whatever your game is, but also in the fact that they're able to sell tons of advertising time. Now, what this led me to is the amount of articles that have been coming out on DragonAge since just shortly before the Game Awards announcements that had negative opinions on DragonAge. This one, published just today, 16 hours ago, says, "A DragonAge the Veilguard, why do your Darkspawn look like that?" An ogre should not remind me of Stretch Armstrong. And I mean, it's funny to hear them say that now, to hear anybody at any outlet say that now. I have not seen other articles by Robin Valentine, so I don't know what they may have said about DragonAge in the past, but I do know that other people at the same outlet, this is PC Gamer, were making excuses for the way the Darkspawn looks. We're saying, oh, it has to do with the new storyline, and oh my god, these are so creepy. And yeah, this right here is the truth that the gamers have been saying for, well, since we first saw an image of one of the Darkspawn. The funny thing is this person will get away with saying that because what they're saying is, oh, the inclusion is good, but the way they're doing it isn't so good. Which I know there's pockets out there who can't stand any kind of trans anything, and then there's other pockets out there who don't care. But in the end, you can generally get by most pockets if you just write it well and you don't force people to participate in it, which they do. The people who've been saying forever that they don't like this ham-fisted down their throats, once again, are right, but they can't just say, well, you know, maybe people don't like these things just rammed down their throats. They have to come up with another excuse. They have to come up with another way to say it because they just can't say, oh, well, you know, maybe people don't like that. Move on to DragonAge the Veilguard story does get better, but its clunky script makes such a bad first impression, and those problems never quite go away. This is the same author in both articles, Harvey Randall for both. So Harvey's really saying the same thing just from different angles on this, focusing more specifically on the poorly written inclusion story, and then going on to admit basically that the rest of the game is also poorly written, and while there are points where they can tolerate it, it's still just kind of wonky all the way through. Here we have an article by Fraser Brown. These DragonAge the Veilguard players have done the impossible, making the Qunari look as awesome as they did in DragonAge 2, admitting that the game did not let the Qunari look anything like they could. Didn't look anything cool. And honestly, looking at the pictures, I don't really think they look all that particularly fantastic. I mean, it looks okay, but I wouldn't go as far as to say they look as good as the previous Qunari. Another one by Fraser Brown, the Veilguard. With the Veilguard, DragonAge has forgotten its dark fantasy roots and become BioWare's Avengers. And when that's one of those things that makes me laugh about the whole return to form statement that was used over and over and over again. If BioWare had truly returned to form, then they would have returned to what people agree almost overwhelmingly was the best story, which was the dark fantasy story, not this chipper, brightly colored slop that has absolutely no stakes, really, and doesn't challenge people at all, other than to irritate them. It challenges their patience. It doesn't challenge their worldview, really. It's boring. It's flat. This leads us to the Veilguard is the first DragonAge game where my companions don't care enough about anything to argue with me. Which, I mean, like I said, stale and flat. The companions are pieces of wood. Everything in this game is a chess piece, is a piece in the story. They need you to see a very specific story, and they don't want you to deviate it. They don't want you to find your own meaning in anything, because if you find your own meaning, it might not be the meaning they want you to see. They need you to see what they want you to see. They can't leave anything up for interpretation, because that honestly scares them. It scares them that people might learn something that they aren't trying to teach them, especially when you look at what they're trying to teach you. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. When you make a creation, when you create something, as soon as you put it down and release it out into the public, someone out there is going to get a different message than the one you intended. They're going to see something that you didn't mean them to see. A lot of times it'll tell them more about the person who created it than it will about themselves. And that's not necessarily bad, except for, when what they're telling you is bad stuff. Now, this was written by Lauren Morton. This is the same Lauren Morton who gave DragonAge the Veilguard a 79. That isn't the highest rating we've seen for DragonAge, obviously. A 79 is middling. I mean, it's a C if you are going by that metric. And I certainly wouldn't call it great. And Lauren does point out that they fall short of the storytelling the series is known for. And in the article itself, it does go through and mention that the characters are part of the problem. You have this article by PC Games. After playing for 7 hours, DragonAge the Veilguard just isn't it. DragonAge the Veilguard brings Thetis to life in ways its predecessor could only dream of, but its combat and exploration are a letdown. Everyone in DragonAge the Veilguard is too nice, and I can't stand it. DragonAge the Veilguard is at war with itself. That's because they couldn't tell a complete narrative very well. DragonAge the Veilguard reportedly has a smaller launch in Europe than Dragon's Dogma 2, which no one's particularly shocked about that, I'm pretty sure. Key takeaways: DragonAge the Veilguard's first week sales in Europe were less than those of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Dragon's Dogma 2. This isn't that bad because Dragon's Dogma 2 sold quite well, but the Veilguard is set to perform worse than DragonAge Inquisition. BioWare has yet to release official sales figures. Go figure, and that's from 11 hours ago. DragonAge the Veilguard fans don't understand why everyone is adorable. That's because we don't want a story where everybody's adorable. We don't want that. Nobody wants that. Especially not from an RPG. Speaking of, I am begging DragonAge the Veilguard to let me roleplay. There is no actual roleplay in this game. I know for some people, the idea of roleplaying is kind of weird. I know some people consider roleplay to be kind of loose, and action-adventure role-playing games are a thing where you play the role of a character and you don't really have any control over the character's decisions or words. But a game like DragonAge from a company like BioWare, you actually expect to be able to have the ability to shape the personality of the character you're playing. This game does not let you do that. When you look at the dialogue options and the fact they're all just various ways to say the same thing with no actual attitude, absolutely no ability to be mean, no ability to make a choice that isn't outside of what is heroic or what the writers for the game felt was right. That makes a huge difference in terms of what people find interesting in a game. And when you're talking about a game that used to give you so much choice, like DragonAge, then it should be no surprise that people are disappointed or upset. But the sad thing is that we saw it coming. We knew from the trailers, we knew from the choices they were announcing that they'd made before the game was even released that this was very likely how it was going to go. But of course, people were but of course the game's media only has cruel words to say to us. Oh no, we need to wait and let it come out. Oh no, that can't possibly be right. This is BioWare. This is going to be their return to form. And then when it comes out and they say the same thing, they don't even say so much as, you guys might be right and we're sorry. They can't do that because they need their access media more than anything. Which, I mean, on one hand, I'm really glad that I am not in any way a form of access media, and I don't really think I ever want to be, because I will always want to give my most honest opinion I can about something. If I don't like something, I definitely want the ability to say it without worrying about having some kind of needed privilege revoked. And of course, DragonAge is still falling. 9,294 players right now, not the least amount of players we've ever seen in a game, but certainly not a lot of players. Granted, it's still 2 a.m, so I wouldn't expect that many, but at a 24-hour peak of only 22,000, how much longer do you really think until the game just kind of disappears entirely? I don't see it having the same staying power as really any of these other games. And that allows us to complete our circle and come back to, was it really a snub? Considering all of this other information that we've just been presented with, not just of our own intuition, not just from people who played the games, not just from people that are considered biased who play the games, but from actual games journalists giving their own opinions that happen to echo those supposedly biased players. Why would they at all be surprised that DragonAge the Veilguard didn't get more game awards? To put this in anything other than the accessibility, I don't even know what it did to make anything accessible, but to put it in any other category would have been just too much proof that the Game Awards are what we already know they are. It's a little depressing to look at this and know that, we the gamers had the answers from the very beginning, and the people that we were once upon a time supposed to trust to help us make these decisions absolutely could not trust us. So the cope is going to continue. This is going to keep going on ad nauseum until the games media finally dies and people are getting their news from individual YouTubers who speak their opinions, speak their minds from random new websites where people post articles and have their own thoughts out there from new review sites like Critic, even though I know they don't have gaming up yet, but you know, when they do, new sites like that, as opposed to sites like Metacritic who have a tendency to curate their reviews. As we take the power back from the corporations and decentralize the game industry so that we can have more of what we want, they're just going to keep screaming. And honestly, I can't help but enjoy it a little. I know that might be a little wrong, but when you see people maliciously misunderstand what other people are saying to get an own so that they can be right, so that they can try to discredit the people they're talking to, it gets tiring. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're still doing. The games journalists and the games industry in general don't seem to understand they're attacking the people that they need the most, because they don't need each other. Gaming would be just fine without games journalists. And we'll have plenty of independent developers, plenty of people who love gaming, who would continue developing games if all the AAA studios just entirely disappeared right now. All that would do is leave room in people's wallets and in people's attention for new game companies to rise up to the same point. That's the only thing that would do. And I'm looking forward to it. After this whole murdering of DragonAge thing, I have no strong attachment to anything in AAA gaming space. They did a great job of making sure of that. So now I will be looking for my AA and indie game fix. And I'm okay with that. As a quick reminder, there will be a stream tonight, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing some more Baldur's Gate 3. So let me know down in the comments what you think, and I look forward to seeing everybody this evening. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.